Alright, welcome to the first of our two lessons on religion. So this lesson I'll give you a basic overview of religion and how sociologists and anthropologists look at religion. And the next lesson we're actually going to take a look at some of the fastest growing religions in the United States, and specifically those religions that many people are less familiar with. So a vast majority of Americans are still Christian, but we've seen a lot of growth in different religions primarily because of the trends of immigration we've seen in the last 50 or 60 years. So I'm going to show you here some of the world's largest religions. You can see that the world's largest religion is Christianity with about 2 billion followers. Islam is the world's second largest religion, but also the fastest growing at this current time. Hinduism, which is the primary religion of India, or the most common religion in India, is the third largest. And then you see many other religions listed here, and of course there's even more than this. We have Buddhism, which is one we'll talk about, Judaism, um, and some of the other ones. So within the United States, when we look at religion, you can actually see that, of course, the Christian groups, and these are all at the top, the Christian groups, evangelical Protestant, mainline Protestant, historically black churches, Catholic, Mormon, Jehovah's Witnesses, these are all fall under sort of that Christian umbrella. So by far, if you add all these percentages up, you have a majority of people in the United States. However, because of the trends in immigration and because of our changing population, we are seeing big increases, specifically in Islam in the United States, in Buddhism in the United States, and Hinduism, and some of the other religions as well. So those are the ones we're going to take a look at because those are the ones that people oftentimes tend to be not so familiar with. And you will most certainly, since all of these religions, even these smaller religions inside the United States, have more than 1 million members, you'll most certainly be interacting with people throughout your lifetime who belong to these different faiths. So it's a good idea to have a basic understanding of sort of their beliefs and values and those sort of things. So we'll take a look at that next lesson. For this lesson, what we're going to take a look at is just sort of defining religion, looking at religion from a sociological perspective, an anthropological perspective. And Durkheim, who's one of the founding fathers of sociology, one of sort of what we call the big three, actually studied religion quite a bit. And Durkheim actually came up with a definition of religion that said religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things. So essentially, in this definition, what Durkheim is doing is he's saying that some of these things in religion focuses on the sacred. So he divided sort of the world into these two elements. He said some things are sacred, and I know you can't read this here, but some things are sacred aspects of life dealing with the supernatural that inspire awe, reverence, deep respect, or fear. So essentially, when he's saying all religions deal with the sacred, they deal with the supernatural, the things that are in some ways beyond our understanding. He contrasted that with this notion of the profane, or what you might think of as everyday things. So he said everything else that wasn't supernatural was everyday things like politics, even the family. These are all profane things. They're the everyday things that are not dealing with the supernatural. So Durkheim also says that, and this comes basically straight from his definition, he said that religions all have three elements. The first element to make a religion is that you believe that some things are sacred. So some things are related to the supernatural. Now, primarily in Christianity and some of the other Abrahamic faiths, that usually we say sacred. We're talking about a God notion, the idea of a God or multiple gods in other religions. But it doesn't have to be that all the time. You'll see an example of that next lesson when we talk a little bit about Buddhism. The second one here is practices centering on things considered sacred. So not only do religions believe that some things are sacred, but practices or rituals develop around those things considered sacred. So this could be something as simple as prayer. It could be going to services, whether it's in a church on Sunday, a synagogue on Saturday, or a mosque on Friday. But it is some practice related to those things considered sacred. Other examples, of course, are communion, and these baptisms and marriage are all examples of practices related to those things that are considered sacred. And then, most importantly, what Durkheim said was one of an important function of religion. What does religion do? What's the purpose of religion? And one of those functions, as he said, it brings people together. And he called this a moral community develops based on those beliefs and practices. Now, don't misinterpret this. He's not saying moral in the terms of good versus bad. What he means by moral community is a group of people who have the same beliefs, who are on the same page, essentially. So, you could be a group like ISIS or ISIL, and you could, be doing some things that most people consider pretty horrible, beheadings and these sort of things. But he would say that's a moral community because it's a group of people brought together based on their religious beliefs and practices, whatever those might be. One thing that we see very commonly with religions is the use of symbols. Symbols allow religions to convey a lot of information. That's what symbols are. They're ways to convey information, or up here it says condensed forms of communication. So, for example, if someone's a Christian and they see a cross, it's not just two sticks at a 90-degree angle. It means a lot to them, and to see it automatically conveys a lot of information. People can write entire books about the cross and the meaning of the cross. People have, of course. So it has a very special meaning for people, and it's a great way to convey information. So, I do want to mention here right here, I wanted to look here at this notion of how common is religion. And I'll just say very quickly that religion is a cultural universal. And that doesn't mean that every single person in the world has a religion. But when we look at societies or cultures, we see religion in all of them historically. So, of course, those religions were very different. But religion seems to do something that is really important for people, or something that does something for people that perhaps other institutions cannot, or at least don't. So religion is a cultural universal. We see it in all societies. The United States, of course, has a pretty unique history with religion because the United States was established on this notion of religious pluralism. And so, even though many of the founding fathers had very strong religious beliefs and values, the idea that under the establishment of the United States was the establishment of religious freedom, that is, the right to practice any religion. You have to remember these founding fathers came from European nations in which monarchs had sort of went back and forth between Protestant groups and Catholic groups, and it really caused a lot of problems, a lot of persecution. So the idea was to sort of to keep government out of religion, to the extent of at least government making a lot of these decisions. So the government's job, according to the Constitution, is to guarantee and protect religious liberty. That is, your right to have religious beliefs without establishing religion. So the government is not allowed to favor any particular religion, but its job is to protect your rights to have religious beliefs and to have, so that your churches can form and you can form churches. One of the things we see, one of the outcomes here has been that, for example, churches, religions tend to be tax-free. So the government kind of allows them to kind of do their own thing and get, some benefits for doing that. So the government must show neither official approval nor disapproval of religion. So it can't favor any religion or no religion for that matter. Additionally, early on, the founding fathers realized that in this encouragement of diversity, part of the Constitution, this is Article 6, Section 3, says, "No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States," meaning that no one could be required to belong to any religion in order to get elected to an office. So they were very clear on sort of the intent as far as the role of government and religion. So the last thing I really want to mention here in regards to religion is that religion is an interesting structure of society, or an interesting feature of society, because one of the things that religion does is it binds people together. So it brings people on the same page. Um, of course, religion can also divide people, so you have sort of this irony here of how religion operates. But sort of the notion here is that religion is doing some very important functions for society, or for societies. So what I like to just say to finish this off is that, religion is one of these areas of great diversity within American society, and it's one of these really fascinating areas to take a look at. So from a sociological perspective, it is not our job or duty to define what religions are right or correct, or right, wrong. That's not what we do. What we do as sociologists is we look at how religion impacts people in their lives, and how religion impacts society. Right? So we're looking at it from a scientific standpoint, but it's really more about the effects religion has on people and on society, not on these sort of value questions which we can't answer scientifically, of what religions are correct or not correct, and those sort of questions. Those are really theological questions, and outside the scope of something we would do as scientists in a sociology course. So next week, as I mentioned, you're going to get a chance to take a look at some of these other religions, and I think you'll find it pretty enlightening. I've got some video clips and some little mini lectures set up for you. So once again, be sure you are reading the chapter in the book for this one. Also, make sure you're looking at the PowerPoints. Also, be sure that you are going through all the materials in the materials folder, and get those assignments done on time. Be very careful looking for those due dates. It's important. Okay, so everyone have a great week out there, and I'll see you next week.